So today we looked at Matthew chapter 24 and from verse 36 onwards. So it's something about getting ready when you don't know when the thing you're getting ready for is going to happen. A long time ago now, when the bairns were small, we went to go and visit my brother down near London. And as it is when you've got very small children, you get up at some kind of unearthly hour, like 5 or 6 o'clock, when they want to feed. And you forget that other people actually sleep at that time of the day. So we'd been staying in a hotel, and we drove the last 50 or so miles down to my brother's house, knocked on the door, no answer. Knocked on the door again, we hear a noise in the background. And finally, his wife opened the door, and in the background was my brother hoovering, getting ready for us to arrive. And I'm thinking, well, you thought he'd have done that a bit earlier. I mean, to get ready for us. And I looked at my watch, and it was about 7:15 in the morning. You forget that not everybody else is up that time, and so we assumed he'd be ready when, of course, he wasn't quite reasonably at that time of the morning. Somehow he thought that when he invited his brother round, it didn't mean pre-breakfast. I don't know where he got that idea from. So we're told in Scripture, absolute certainty, that Christ will come again. But we're also told, with equal certainty, you don't know when that's going to be. Not even the angels in heaven know when that's going to be. It's going to happen, but we can't tell you when. So there's only one way to be ready for something when you don't know when it's going to happen, and that's obviously to be ready all of the time. So the when is kind of a mixed bag. The when is, we don't know when the second coming is going to happen, but we do know when to get ready, and that's now. Because otherwise, if it happens this afternoon, which it quite easily could, then we'd be unprepared and not ready. So to be ready for any time, you have to be ready all the time. And it needs to be unbroken. There's no point in saying, well, I'll be ready once a week on a Sunday. Okay, it could be any day of the week, any time of the day or night, so we need to be ready all the time, every day. Which sounds like quite a lot to do. There's no point in speculating or guessing when it might happen. So all Christians agree when it'll happen, we just don't agree or understand when. That's the when bit. The why is also straightforward. It's because God told us to be ready. That's why we get ready. God told us to. And that should be enough. Again, thinking back to when your kids are small, they reach that certain age where they're a bit bolshy, or ours were anyway. They were great kids, but they had that age, just that certain thing where you'd say, can you get your hat and coat on? Why? Because we're going to the shops. Why? Well, because we need food to eat. Why? And so it goes on for about 20 minutes. And eventually, you've had enough and you just say, because I said so. Yeah? Anyone ever said that? Because I said so. Which is meant to, and usually does actually solve the matter. It doesn't answer the question, but it actually says why. And so the reason we have to get ready is because God said so. God said, get ready. So let's get ready. And actually, there's quite a nice side effect of that, is that if we do get ready, then God will be able to recognise us when he does come again in Jesus, that we are one of his followers, that we are one of the people who's part of his team, his group, his family, because we'll be Christians and acting like Christians, and it'll be easy for us to be spotted. Which leaves us with the how. We want to get ready, but we want to do it right, don't we? We want to do it properly. We want to do the right thing. Back in the day when I worked in London, my mother used to ask me every year, what do you want for your birthday? And I thought, well, I like to be well presented at work when I was in an office, and I said, I'd like another one of those white shirts. The posh white shirts would be really lovely, thanks very much. And she'd say, oh, what size do you want? And I'd tell her, the next size. And We realised after a few years that there's an easier formula than doing that. All that had to happen was she'd know I want the white shirt, there's no need to ask, and all she had to do was add 1 inch onto the next size from the previous year, and then it would always fit. So there's 2 ways that we can react to, shall we say, our neck growing a little larger. We can do one of 2 things. We can do what we did there, which is simply just buy a bigger shirt. And it works quite well, actually. If you get a really, really big shirt and put it on, everyone says, ooh, you must have lost weight because your collar's nice and loose. It's a great one, that. But maybe better preparation would be actually to lose some weight, to eat a bit more healthily, to do a bit more exercise. So you've got 2 options, one of which is a bit cheating, really, and one of which is a much better option. And if we're going to prepare for Jesus coming again, we want to get it right. Not to do some, cheeky little thing, some get around, some excuse, some easy way out. If we're going to prepare, let's prepare properly. Let's put our heart and soul and mind and strength into it and really be bothered. Well, there are biblical pointers to the coming again of Jesus, and they're not there to satisfy our curiosity. So I wondered what Christ was going to do next. That's interesting. There's a bit more to it than that. There's actually an implication that says, because he's coming again, there's things I ought to do. And I want to give you a few pointers this morning. And one of them is to prepare by living lives that are worthy of those who want to call themselves Christians. A kind of set of behaviours, ways of thinking, hopes, dreams, the whole package really, should reflect our faith, should reflect our wanting to be called Christians. We shouldn't give ourselves that name and then disgrace the name by doing things that we shouldn't. That's not really being honourable towards God. Now, we'll never get it right all the time, but at least we should be trying. There's no point in kind of just wearing the white outfit and then wandering up a hillside with a, the end is nigh thing on our front. There's a bit more to it than that. We need to be properly focused and distracted, not distracted. How easily we get distracted from what we should be doing. Forgetting what's really important, what's really significant, what's going to make a difference. We forget all that and we get easily distracted. Not mentioning any names, but my son is an expert at getting distracted. You can tell him to do something, you realise how important it is, he's getting ready to do it, then something else will happen. And all of a sudden, you may as well not have said it to him in the first place. The dogs are the same. They're going up and down the room, which means I want to go outside. I'm desperate, and they go faster and faster up and down. Okay, so we get up, we open the back door, they race out, and then they see a leaf or a squirrel. Oh, leaf, squirrel. And completely forget why they went out, that actually they wanted a wee. It's as if it never occurred to them. Oh, squirrel, ooh. And then you just trot back in like, and completely forget the wee bit of it. And we're like that with our lives. We get so easily distracted from actually doing God's work, doing good things, being helpful to one another and so on. So let's not get distracted. Let's keep our focus on what's important, what's significant, what would help build God's kingdom here on earth. There's another point to do with encouraging one another, supporting one another, being a team, looking after one another's back, looking after one another's interests, and not just being self-centred like the world would try and teach us to be today. It's all about me, says the world. It's all about each other, say Christians. A very different way of looking at the world and how I might spend my time while I'm here in it. Now, remember, a couple of weeks back we talked about people who were complacent. Those who had been told in one of Paul's letters that the second coming will be soon, and they interpreted that and said, okay, well, I might as well stop doing good things then, because it's going to come anyway. What's the point of my doing anything? I might as well just sit back, do what I want, be lazy, stop work, sit back and wait for the heavens to open. And in his second letter, Paul scolds them and says, no, That's the exact opposite. You should be redoubling your efforts to prepare. It's not about being complacent and sitting back and saying, okay, let's just watch while it happens. We're not here to watch a display. We're here to prepare. Because God's got things for each one of us to do. Important things. And we need to take time and effort to find out what they are. Because I can't tell you what they are, because yours will be different to mine. The same way as our personalities are different. Our skills and talents are different, and so on. Because God's made us, fashioned us, just to do exactly what he wants us to do. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know what God wants me to do, to be honest. Well, if you want a starting point, start with the gifts and talents and abilities that he's given you. Maybe you're good at praying, maybe you're good at knitting, maybe whatever it is you're good at, God's given you that gift for a reason, not just randomly. Maybe you can sing, whatever it might be. Think about how God's equipped you and how you might use that in his service. That's a great place to start. He doesn't just throw around gifts and talents like randomly for the sake of it. He's given it to you for a reason. Let's see how we can use it for his glory and to build his kingdom. Well, the world would love to stop us having that. Stop us having a hope. Stop us having that assurance that God will come again. They'd love to laugh at us and say, yeah, right, that's going to happen. They want to diminish it. They want to extinguish it. And circumstances and difficulties in life will help us along that line. They'll help us to lose our hope. But we must keep firm to it, grasping it with all our efforts. Just a couple more to mention. We need to be patient in a world that today is very, very, very impatient. I want you to get in your car on your way home, go to a set of traffic lights that's red and stop. I hope you'll stop anyway. Stop at a red light. And then when it goes green, count to 5. What will the car behind you do? Beep! Get out the way, idiot, fool, moron. What do you think you're doing? You wasted 5 seconds of my life. I can't tell you what I'd do with those 5 seconds when I get to where I'm going to and how that would make a difference, but I'm going to sure as heck beat my horn at you for doing it. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. We won't wait anymore for anything. I think it's probably the internet that's taught us that everything should be instant. If I want to find out who was the third king of Hungary or something, I just press a button, third king of Hungary, poof, it's there. What did you do when you were small? You'd have got on your bike, you'd have biked down to the library, you'd have found a book about kings and queens and so on, you'd have looked it up, you'd have driven home, written home, and so on, and perhaps even waited a day for the library to open because it was a Sunday. These days it's me. Who's ever shouted at their computer or whatever because it took 10 seconds to do something? And you're saying, come on! I pressed that button 10 seconds ago. What are you doing? There must be something wrong with the modem or something wrong with the computer. 10 seconds is ridiculous. Let's stem the tide. Let's show that actually you can live your world with patience. And actually it'll stop you getting the ulcers and so on that you'd get if you were on edge the whole time. Everything's got to be now and instant. Let's try and change that around. God's got a different time frame to him. Minutes are like hours, are like days, are like years. He'll do things in his own good time. And we should be like that too. I'm not saying waste time, but don't be so uptight the whole time because something took 5 seconds. So, how would people describe your life when it comes to other people coming to the faith? Those around you, are you a bridge helping them or a barrier preventing them? By the way you live your life, do you make it easier for them to come to God or harder? Are you casting light or are you casting a shadow on other people's lives? Are you remembering, in the humbleness we talked about before, that you're not the source of the light, neither am I. We are mirrors reflecting the light of God to others. Let's not get so full of ourselves that we think we are the source of the light. Thank goodness we're not. God is. So be a bridge and not a barrier. Be light and not shadow. And reflect the light of God. You know what we tend to do? We look at other people and we say, well, you're not doing very well. And you're not doing very well to be a Christian, to prepare for the coming, to acting out lives suitable for Christians. We weren't given that knowledge to do that. We're not here to judge other people. The reason we're given information about how lives should be lived is for ourselves. It said, if you want to change the world, there's only one place to begin, and that's with yourself. So don't go judging other people, judge yourself. Do a little audit of yourself, a little look around and say, well, what about this bit of my life and that bit of my life? Is that the kind of behaviour, thinking, thoughts, dreams, whatever, words that are suitable for a Christian, for someone who wants to call themselves followers of God? So, I think we all go shopping at some point or another. And we get ready for going shopping, don't we? We get, again, hat and coat, like we said before with the kids. We need a bag to put things in. We need some money to pay for it. And if you're me, you need to start working out an excuse for when you get home and you've forgotten half the things on the list. Yeah, these are all things we do when we go shopping. And in that way, when we get to the shop and when we get home, we've achieved our objective. So like I said, it's different for each one of us. We just have to kind of think it through. But surely it's worthwhile. Surely it's necessary to prepare and get ready. Surely we want Jesus to get a better welcome this time than he got the first time, certainly when he grew up, when people did everything to spoil his life, to make things difficult, to reject him, to hurt him, and eventually to kill him. Why would we want him to get a better welcome this time? Because we've bothered to prepare. So, your homework for this week. Very simple one, really. I want you to set an extra place at the table next time you have a meal. That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? That's an easy one, that. Set an extra place at the table. Extra knife, fork, spoon, little whatever else you use. To say that actually my life will be more complete when God comes. And I want to be ready for him. And I want, as a symbol of being ready for him, to show by putting an extra place at the table. To show that when he does come, he'll be made very, very welcome. And thanks be to God.